politics in the next 4 years. I thank the commissioners, Teresa Ribera, Stefan Séjourné and Ursula von der Leyen for their great work. They can count on the continued support of the European People's Party. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now I give the floor to the chair of the S&D Group, Irache Garcia Perez. 4 minutes.
Gracias.
Thank you, President. Ms. von der Leyen, sorry to have to say this, but every time Manfred Weber stands up to speak about this motion of censure, he actually causes more problems for you. Anyway, as president of the Social Democratic Group, I want to make it clear from the outset that this motion led by the far right will not receive the support of my group. Not because we defend the entirety of the Commission's course, but because we will not give a single vote to those who, like Orban, Le Pen and Abascal, want to destroy the European Union. This motion is not an act of scrutiny. It is a reactionary assault on the heart of the European project. And in the face of this assault, there can be no doubt we will stand where we have always stood, in defence of the European values of dignity, freedom, democracy and equality. Mr. Weber, it's rather ironic that you have been spending a year trying to defend pro-European groups, that ECR is a pro-European group, and now a member of the ECR has stood up here to defend a motion of censure in the European Commission. It's rather ironic, isn't it? How can we build Europe with climate change deniers, those who attack the 2030 agenda, those who despise science, want to silence women, defend Nazism, dismantle public services, or ally themselves with Putin and Netanyahu to destroy international law and annihilate Ukraine and Gaza? The far right does not want a better Europe. It wants there to be no Europe. What we want as Social Democrats, however, has to some extent been achieved. We've built the European Union brick by brick. We have combated authoritarianism, and we will continue to defend a Europe that protects, cares and liberates. But Mr. Weber, let me be very clear. This motion is also the direct result of the failure of your totally misguided strategy in the European Parliament. They ask pro-European groups to be responsible while they negotiate policies with the far right. Sorry, but it's not on. We need to continue working. Didn't you vote with the far right to block the ethics body? Wasn't it you who joined forces with the radicals to dismantle the Green Deal, launch a witch hunt against environmental NGOs, remove references to the child guarantee? Isn't it your group that uses the petitions committee to attack governments that are not from your political group, such as the governments of Spain or Slovenia? I think that's food for thought. And Ms. von der Leyen, don't look the other way. Why did you announce your intention to withdraw the Green Claims Directive 1 day after the People's Party and the far right demanded it in a letter? To whom do you owe your support? Where is the commitment you made to the pro-European majority to preside over the Commission? No, the People's Party, I say to you today, who do you want to govern with? Do you want to govern with those who want to destroy Europe, or those of us who fight every day to build it? Respect the legislative agreement. Respect your word. And if you betray it once again, be clear that social democracy will lead the resistance. We will not give an inch, because in the face of hatred, in the face of lies, in the face of destruction, our response will be more Europe, not less, more democracy, not less, more justice, not less. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, on behalf of the PfE Group, I give the floor to Fabrice Leggeri, 2.5 minutes.
Madam President von der Leyen, dear colleagues, Europe deserves better than silence, better than opaque operations, better than bureaucratic authoritarianism. For 6 years now, you have been heading this Commission, and it's a Jupiter verticalism that you apply, cut off from the people and all too often also cut off from the values that founded our continent. Pfizergate is not an administrative error, it is a question of abuse of power. 35 billion euros, the public denier, negotiated by SMS without a call for addendus, without a mandate, without transparency. The Court of Justice of the European Union has upheld this. You acted alone, outside of any kind of democratic framework, and therefore it's not just your error, not your fault. It's not just your fault, it is actually symbolic of an even graver drift, namely the fact that Europe is being steered disregarding the people. Under your authority, the Commission has become basically the extended arm of corporations, foreign entities, sometimes far removed from our civilization. You talk about transition, but millions of Europeans are experiencing this as punishment. You call it a Green Deal. Our farmers, our craftsmen and women, our industrialists see it as strangulation, and what you call European values all too often look like censorship of the people, people who dare to think differently. So is that the Europe that you're defending, madam? A Europe where decisions are taken without any debate. A European that would sign trade agreements like Mercosur behind the backs of our citizens, and that would therefore pave the way for unfair competition. So no, I'm sorry, Mrs. von der Leyen, this Europe is not our Europe. Our Europe is the Europe of freedoms, the Europe that respects identities, sovereignties and democratic choices, the Europe that will protect, that will build, that listens, not the one that imposes. Today, therefore, we shall be voting in favour of the motion of censure. It's not just an opposition gesture, it is an act of responsibility. We're not just talking about stepping aside from you, we're taking this opportunity to say that another way forward is available. A Europe of promise, not just a system with the imposition of threats and standards. The people of Europe do not need an all-powerful Commission. What they need is a Europe that they can identify with in their image. So, if we want to send a strong signal, let it be the following one. The return of the political, the return of the people, and the return of the real. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I give the floor to the co-chair of the ECR Group, Nicola Procaccini.
Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you, President.
Evidentemente oggi.
Well, obviously, I won't be able to speak today on behalf of the whole group, but I will be able to do so on behalf of the 2/3 of the ECR colleagues who did not sign the motion. Not because they disagreed with some of the reasons for censure in the text, but rather because, like me, they consider this motion to be a mistake. It is a great gift to our political opponents, and it comes at the very moment when they are at their greatest frustration, when thanks to centre-right majorities, the likes of which have never been seen before, we are managing to bring some common sense back in here. There will be a free vote in the ECR, but this motion is doomed to fail, and we know it, without even getting close to the threshold of votes needed for its approval. So perhaps the left group will vote for it, maybe a few French or German communists might vote for it, or the internal naysayers of the Five-Star movement. But that's it. Unfortunately, it will be useful to the Socialists and the Greens, who will take advantage of it to call for a return to that same Ursula majority that is enslaved to their agenda and has already caused serious damage to European families and companies. I will vote against this motion as a European conservative and as an Italian, because I do not want to go back to uncontrolled immigration and environmentalism as a
euphemism for communism. Because several commissioners today come from European governments that are supported and participated in by conservative parties with honour and dedication, and because I want to defend the work of the previous ECR president, the current vice president of the European Commission, the Italian Raffaele Fitto. So let me tell you one thing. I respect everyone's choices, but there is one question that comes right from the heart. How come today's petitioners never tabled a motion of censure against the last von der Leyen Commission? And that's the commission that supported the pro-immigration NGOs, it produced the Green Deal and the so-called Pfizergate. It was that commission that had as vice president the socialist Timmermans instead of the conservative Mr. Fitto. Well, of course, I know the answer to that question, and I feel no resentment. Well, now that someone has got his 15 minutes of fame, we'll have to start fighting together once again, side by side, to seek out the truth about the political scandals that have affected the European Parliament, to defend freedom of speech, to protect our peoples, and for many other good reasons. But unfortunately, some people like to lose, both at home and here. I don't know. We will not stop winning, building majorities on the contents and not on prejudice. This is our moment, and we will not waste it. Thank you.
Grazie. Now I give the floor to the chair of the Renew Europe Group, Valérie Hayet, 2 minutes.
Madame la Présidente, merci. Madame la Présidente.
Madam President, thank you. You've just heard from Nicola Procaccini. Mr. Procaccini is in a bit of a bind because they're divided. And then what about the Patriots? They want to bring the whole the EU down. But what about Ukraine, Middle East, Trump, Putin? Don't we need Europe in such a context? Of course we do, more than ever. Madam President, you've referred to an impasse for your political group because the EPP has been making alliances of convenience with the far right. Who are your real allies in this parliament, I would ask you? Who are your true allies? You're going to have to choose. We elected a commission president. None of us have signed this motion of censure. I hope you have noted that. I would note, though, that this debate comes at an appropriate juncture. We do have comments in the Parliament on transparency and governance. Before giving lessons, the far right and the EPP, your own political family, Madam President, should stop blocking the establishment of an ethics body. And it's not just transparency. We need the right institutional balance. We need to cooperate with the friends of Europe. We need to give them a response. So for green claims, play by the rules. Failing to do that was a big mistake. And these games that have been going on for a year need to stop. Another point, Madam President. What is Europe doing with the Draghi report, with the Capitals Market Union, protection of minors on social media, fake news and interference through online platforms? The Commission is centralised, it's stiff, it's not agile. In Renew Europe, we've defended the majority that put you in place on a pro-European basis. And now there's a problem that method is coming into question because of ideology, because of poor calculations in the Commission about the balance of power in the European Parliament. So I'm terribly sorry, but don't take anything for granted. Please put your own political house in order. Get a grip so that we can work together with you to achieve what we jointly wish to achieve.
Now I give the floor to the co-chair of the Green Group, Bas Eickhout. 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam President. This motion should be about transparency, fighting corruption, etc. Corruption by the far right. Most corruption cases are within your ranks. And I find it quite condemning that Mr. Leggeri is talking about all kinds of scandals without mentioning all the scandals under your leadership in Frontex. Or on transparency, you've been blocking any initiative that we took to get transparency in this House. And when there was a real issue of transparency, we, as Greens, are taking the European Commission to court on the contracts of the vaccines. Where were you when we were fighting in court? This just shows you one thing. This is one big political show of the far right. To undermine democracy, to undermine our Europe, to undermine European democracy. That's what they're doing. And that does bring me to the EPP, Mr. Weber. You didn't want lectures, but sorry. When you are talking about there are new majorities, which majority are you talking about? There is no right-wing majority without the far right. So if you talk about new majorities, you are talking about a majority with them. And I can just quote President of the Commission talking about extremists eroding democracy, that they are only doing conspiracy theories. You are feeding that beast, and at a certain moment the beast will eat you. This means it's time for a cordon sanitaire, and a cordon sanitaire means not supporting their amendments, which EPP is still doing. It also means not pushing their agenda on fighting NGOs, on getting migration files with the help of the far right, to kill the Green Deal files like the Green claims. That's what you're doing together with the far right. That, of course, also brings me to the ECR. Lovely speech. The first signatory is from your group. Your co-president is one of the co-signers of this. Where does ECR stand? Mr. Weber, you said we are having one criteria that's pro-Ukraine, pro-democracy, pro-Europe. I think after today it's clear ECR doesn't fit that criteria. So no, there is no left-wing majority in this House, but there is also no right-wing majority in this House. There is a majority of the centre parties and the pro-European democratic parties. Let's work on that. We have work to do together. It's now time to deliver on a green economy. It's time to deliver on social justice. It's time to deliver on peace. And we cannot do that with the far right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eickhout. I give the floor now to the co-chair of the Left Group, Martin Schirdewan. 2 minutes.
Thank you, President. Well, once again, we've got a corruption case. But it's the right-wingers who are pointing at the Commission, saying, look at the corrupt thieves. Well, is that the situation in the European institutions in 2025? Mrs. von der Leyen, you have been so untransparent that you've been playing their game. Europe needs the courage for a change of policies that creates social justice, that creates peace and protects the environment and the climate. That's what we need from the Commission, and that's why Europe needs a new political idea and a new political leadership. In Trump's trade war, we're going to see our industry and jobs suffering, and you're passive. Sometimes you announce something, such as introducing a European digital tax, but no, you're afraid of annoying the big tech companies from the US and China. The Green Deal was sold by you as the Europe's man on the moon moment, but your own political family is working with the far right to roll it back. You talk about climate change, but it seems like the new policies are going to be a climate catastrophe. Your policies damage human rights. You cannot enforce the rule of law. and you're letting people like Orban and Maloney wrap you around their little finger. And there are breaches of international law in the Middle East and Gaza. You say nothing, and your only idea of diplomacy is reinforcing the profits of defense companies with hundreds of billions of public money, whereas the rest of society is going to be forced into cutbacks. This is your devastating political result. Mrs. von der Leyen, your politics have led to a situation where the right wing can perform its theatre and make democracy look ridiculous. We need to pull the rug out from under these policies. Mrs. von der Leyen, your commission will find its hardest political opponents in us. Thank you very much.
And now for the ESN Group, René Aust, 1.5 minutes.
Well, wherever Ursula von der Leyen is given responsibilities, harm follows in her wake. She was family minister in Germany. 20 years ago, she wanted to introduce the first blocks on the internet. That gave her the nickname Cenzură in Germany. And since then, we've seen skyrocketing costs for consultancy contracts. Then she was Labour Minister, and she spent millions on external consultants, millions on her own self-promotion, but not anything for the unemployed. Then she was Defence Minister. Again, consultancy corruptions and lots of mobile data going missing. We had pregnancy uniforms, we had tanks suitable for the pregnant. Today, our country and our continent is rightly complaining that we are unfit to defend ourselves, and Mrs. von der Leyen is largely responsible for this. And then now, for 6 years, she has been bringing destruction to the European level. 5 years of the Green Deal, which led to deindustrialization in large parts of Europe. People lost their jobs, their income, their existence. Then, 5 or 6 years ago, the EU external borders were opened. Millions of social migrants came in without any checks whatsoever. And then, hovering over all of this, the Pfizer-Gate scandal. The unlawful refusal to hand over SMS data, the suspicion of waste and mismanagement when it came to the COVID Recovery Fund, the improper use of Article 122. But look at the majorities. The majorities are now different. People are looking differently towards Brussels. That is why on Thursday we will be paving the way for a new commission that will protect our borders, will protect our freedom of opinion, will protect our welfare and our well-being. That is why on Thursday we shall be sending you to your undeserved retirement, Mrs. von der Leyen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that concludes this debate. The President of the Commission has said all she has to say in the beginning of the debate, and that's something that we can now close with. So I have received one motion for resolution to wind up this debate, and the vote will be held on Thursday. We will now move to the point of order. I give the floor to Ms. Cecilia Maria Strada. Okay, no, is Ms. Strada here? No, then I give the floor to Ms. Eva Zahajowska-Hernik. Okay, wait now, because I've given the floor to your colleague. Unless she's also not listening. Okay, Ms. Strada, back to you. (715).
Not working.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to raise a point of order on a possible